All right, and we are live. Hello, welcome everyone today to our webinar about how to go from giving day to every day. We want to talk about how to really take the success of your, giving day and your community built around the giving day and really see that shine all year round. I'm Taylor Shanklin, the Director of Marketing Strategy here at Kimbia, and I will be joined today by a couple of really fun guest speakers I'll be introducing in a moment. And I will be the moderator. So to get us going, just a really quick agenda. We want to talk about, what's it really mean to be a community in the digital age, talk about some factors of success, and then we want to just get really practical and give you examples of what some organizations who do giving days with Kimbia are doing 365 days of the year. This is a small group. We want it to be a very, open discussion and dialogue. We do have the phone lines muted just to eliminate background noise. However, there's a questions box. If you have questions, please just at any time enter those into the questions box. And as the moderator, I'll be taking a look and watching those and can, ask the question of our two speakers. So with that being said, we have Lori Finch, who's our VP of Revenue and Sales Strategy here at Kimbia, and I think Giving Day extraordinaire at Kimbia. And we're also joined by Rob Layton, who works with some of our organizations that do Giving Days as well. He's the Executive Director and founder of iMission Institute, and we're really excited to have Rob on today to join Lori in the discussion around.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so thanks, Rob. All right, so we won't linger on that too long, but just to get us going and kicked off, I know both of you have a lot of thoughts around this topic. But, in your opinion, in your experience, how is it that we extend the power of the Giving Day community throughout the year and in the digital age? Just kind of some general ideas and thoughts that you have. Either of you, feel free to please chime in. Lori, you want to get us started?
Sure, I'll kick us off. Sure. And thanks for the time today. Again, we're really excited about this topic and starting to talk more about how community foundations, United Ways, and other like organizations can extend giving beyond just their giving day. So I know from looking at the attendee list, we have some who've done giving days in the past, some who are currently doing them, and maybe even some who are still considering doing them. But one of the things that's super powerful about giving days is that they really do bring the entire community together. And what we are really focused on is how do you sort of take that energy and focus it on other campaigns throughout the year. So how do you extend that sort of giving day really from the platform base, or the technology base, the idea that you can engage individuals online in an easy, fast, flexible way and do that in campaigns outside of just a giving day and really looking at how you take a successful model and move it that way. Whether it be supporting corporate sponsors or using, different tools like peer-to-peer, et cetera. We'll kind of look at those throughout the day. But Rob, do you have anything about this that you'd like to add as well?
Yeah, certainly. And again, thanks everybody for showing up today. So I come at early in my career, and I'm well into it. But I come at it really from a community organizing perspective. And this was well before the digital world existed. And it was canvassing, and it was all sorts of tools and tactics to meet people face to face and make change. And what's remarkable and what's so exciting for me at this juncture, and why I'm absolutely fascinated with the online tools, is that we do live in a digital age. And this notion, I think one of the conceptions that need to be broken down here is this online fundraising, online advocacy, online engagement versus offline. And I think what's really important to think about is that it's not online versus offline. It's the way we interact with each other in the digital world. I mean, it's not different from walking into a restaurant and having a family sitting around the table talking to each other, but their cell phones are down in front of them as well, and they're engaging with their community, their personal communities, in real time. And so that it is about building community both offline and online, that we can use the digital tools to create new ways for us to connect. And I do think people are anxious to connect, and that some of the traditional ways of connecting have disappeared. And so we have to create new ways. And I think the digital tools, many of which Kimbia is providing, I think provides an exciting opportunity for community building in the best sense of the word. Social fabric, social capital, all the things that help us create better communities here.
Awesome. So kind of moving on, let's talk kind of first about some of the things that we know define Giving Day success. Some things are pretty easily measured. Some things are less easily measured, but I know you guys both have some kind of anecdotal thoughts on that. So Kimbia is really proud to say that we're just about to move over that $1 billion mark of online donations raised through the platform. A good portion of those are from Giving Days. A good portion of those are from other types of online fundraising efforts. So, Rob, in your opinion, what do you think really defines Giving Day success?
The Giving Day itself, obviously, is the ability to raise some significant dollars. I mean, that is the measure of a Giving Day success. But for me, what I find exciting about Giving Day is what happens before, which usually is very powerful, and then what happens after, which tends to be less robust in what I've seen in my experience. What happens before is that nonprofits are organizing their communities, and that they're learning to use digital skills and digital outreach in a new and exciting way. So I think it's capability building. I think some of the things we're going to talk about later in terms of using peer-to-peer in the context of Giving Days, which offer the opportunity for broad giving, broad community building opportunities outside the nonprofit circles, but in the corporate circles, in the human resources circles, in the team circles within a community, broadly defined. What I think is somewhat missed, the opportunity missed, is how we engage with the folks that participated in Giving Days after the fact. And what we're really creating with Giving Days, and particularly for those folks who have run it for a number of years, you're creating an incredible database, a database for social giving, a social database for social good, but not just giving, but social good, a social base for building social capital. And our ability to organize that data and think about that data, and as community foundations in United Ways, to communicate in a increasingly personalized sort of way with people in our community and bring them into convenings, I think is just an extraordinarily exciting opportunity for us to create new types of organizations and new types of community.
Yep. And to sort of build on that, and Rob, you hit like one of the biggest points of what I think and why we put this together. And again, we'll show you some examples of communities doing that, but from what works in this Giving Day or this community-based fundraising model is the idea that you're getting donors or people in your community to tell you what's really important. So what and who are doing work, and they're kind of voting by making their donations and helping do that. And certainly with Giving Days, there's gamification and there's other things at stake. But who are those organizations who people in your community are passionate about? So having come from the community foundation world in particular, I see this as an incredible opportunity to do data mining. And this is where you get from the Giving Day to sort of the everyday, but the idea that you have information on donors who are passionate about certain types of causes, certain organizations, and the idea to leverage that in other campaigns and really connecting them to the more of mission critical work that you're doing in your community. So that's really kind of where you'll see the rest of this going when we're talking about examples, but the idea that you have this data base of people who are passionate about your community and organizations in your community, is really tremendous. And as Rob mentioned, not used to the level that it could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with both of you guys. So then what are some of the, I guess, less measurable keys to success or factors of defining Giving Day success that you also see as key factors in building and keeping the momentum year round?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I focus on what makes them these days really powerful and relevant in the community is that community building. And again, foundation, whether you're a community foundation, United Way, or just another local funding foundation, the idea that you could bring people together and together you could be more than just each individual donor is pretty powerful. It's this common goal and common purpose. And that's the theme for all the different types of campaigns you could do, is that you're connecting people with causes that matter and you're sort of coming together around a common purpose.
Yeah, I think that's really key. And for me, it's the ability to weave together fraying social networks, right? We know that people want to engage. They're looking for ways to engage. And we know that there's tremendous power in social networks in a community. And when I talk about social networks, I'm not talking about Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. I mean, those are the digital incarnations of social networks. But we are a social networking species. We've been doing it since the dawn of our species. We are social networkers by definition. It's built into our DNA. And I think what's happening around the Giving Day is that those social networks, that those threads are getting woven in a different sort of, in a really exciting way, so that it's in social networks we can make positive social change. And I think that's happening. And I don't only think, I know, because I've seen it happen. I know it's happening, that Giving Days are a primary day in the year where we are really threading together a much more robust, much more rigorous social fabric. And the question is what we do with that fabric going forward.
Awesome. I love this picture in here. This is from North Texas Giving Day. And there's two, I'm looking at the signs now. I'm like, oh yeah, there's two in here that I used to go to all the time. The Dallas Zoo and the Fort Worth Museum of Science. Love it.
Yeah, and that's a picture of some people who have never connected before.
Yeah.
Right? And that they're all in their own networks, and those networks are starting to connect, and it's the way change is made.
Yeah. Great. Okay, well, Lori, hey, let's get into showing off some examples of, again, taking this beyond the Giving Day, using that momentum, using that community and the technology to, expand the footprint 365 days of the year.
Sounds good. All right, so we're gonna walk through some examples of communities doing giving outside of just Giving Days. So we've got a number of different communities who do things, and I see we have actually have someone from the Boston Foundation on the call, which I'm excited to have. But this is an example here of ongoing outreach, so ongoing support for nonprofits and providing not only your database of nonprofits that are in their local community, but the ability to integrate Kimbia forms for year-round giving to nonprofits by cause area. So this is the Miami Foundation. It's their site is called Nonprofit Central, and they leverage Kimbia for a giving day, but they also use it for ongoing outreach and support of nonprofits. The vision really being that they want donors in their community to be able to come find causes and support them year round. So this is just one example of sort of taking that giving day and making an everyday example of giving or supporting organizations in your community. And then again, this is very much supporting the nonprofits. Some of the other examples, and if we go to the next one, will show you how community foundations are helping support other funds within them. So this example comes from, yep.
Lori, if you just want to go back a slide, because I think
sure.
the Miami example is just incredibly interesting, because we're doing something like this with another community foundation in the Northeast, and those issue areas have become focus of communications, of awareness building, of outreach in a particular month. So a particular month is associated with a particular issue, and that there's and we're conducting a fair amount of community outreach associated with those issues. And what we're finding in the digital world, what was very difficult to do before the digital world is to find people that were interested in a particular issue, unless they showed up. But with the advent of the Google databases, not that you have to use Google AdWords, but the Google information or the Facebook information or Twitter hashtags or any of those ways, they can let you find, highly targeted with a very limited outreach budget, they can let you find the people who have not yet engaged either in Giving Day or with the Community Foundation or with the United Way, but they're interested in those issues. And what we're finding is that we can bring in people who have not connected with us in the past because we have this kind of format. And they're coming, I mean, what does every donor have concerned about? Every donor is concerned about whether a nonprofit is credible, and they tend to give to the same nonprofits because they've cleared that hurdle. But what this platform is doing is opening up the world within a community, not the whole world, not globally, but within a community. They're opening it up and letting people find other ways to invest in their community. And why I think that's particularly important and particularly exciting is that it's not just about one nonprofit in the community versus another nonprofit in the community. To the extent that we are trying to build community and we're doing it in relationship to a global marketplace for giving, I think we're finding ways to keep more money at home and get a larger share of wallet of the folks who can and will give in our community. So I love this use of this use case. It is
and I see.
It's marvelous.
Thanks for bringing us back too, because I forgot to mention that one of the things that this also sets you up for is sort of what I would call Giving Day Lights or issue area focus, like fundraising calls to action. So the ability to say, I want to fundraise around, animal causes or the arts or whatever it might be. This is also an incredible opportunity given the political climate and sort of fundraising climate that we're in right now, to leverage these types of tools to really bubble up, organizations in your community who are doing work to support groups or causes that, are impacted or could be impacted by public funding, et cetera. So it's a pretty phenomenal tool. We have another example of a community who sort of led that charge doing that, and really focusing on a national scale, but doing the same thing where you can highlight causes or certain causes each month and really drive participation from the community to support those organizations. Okay. Again, on the ongoing outreach, we have a number of community foundations that we work with who leverage Kimbia to help whether it be issue-based fundraising, so they have, if you have initiatives in the community and want to support that, or so like the education or the arts, or they want to support giving to an existing fund. There's some ways, the way that we work is that, you know, you can have a form for every fund or issue area. And so having the flexibility to give to support an area of interest. This is Central Indiana Community Foundation, just as an example, or have donors fund their funds. One of the things that you see again is this is helping translate into the everyday an everyday service to donors, making it simple for them to give to their funds. I think a little known fact is that we actually offer ACH with multiple different gateways. So the ability to add to your fund, especially when you're thinking about larger gifts, using ACH is something that is available to our partners. Oh, I think we missed one. I'm really excited about this one, and this is one that Kimmy has done a ton of peer-to-peer working with large nonprofits, but really sort of seeing this more dabbling in this in the community foundation space. This is working, it's a project actually with a volunteer center, as well as the community foundation in Santa Cruz. They've integrated peer-to-peer fundraising into their Giving Day event, but their event is really a 6-month campaign to support local organizations, and again, in partnership with the volunteer center, and ends in a race. But the ability to do individual and team fundraising. So thinking about this in other use cases, extending into everyday, you may have a donor who has a fund that they want to support, or a special cause that they want to support, and you want to offer them, and they want to do peer-to-peer fundraising. Having a tool to be able to do that with all-in-one, again, same platform, is really a different opportunity. And we see this more and more or I see it more and more, hear about it more and more, where, you know, it may be also a corporate partner who wants to do some sort of competitive aspect using a peer-to-peer model. You can do that. And this is one way. And Rob has some great suggestions as well as how to leverage peer-to-peer as part of a Giving Day or other type of fundraising campaign, just based on finding individuals who are passionate for your community. You have a lot of flexibility here.
Yeah, I mean, I love this model, and you know, this is just really a beautiful thing. There's a couple things here that I think are worth noting. One is the way they integrate. Again, I hate to use these terms, offline versus online, but the way they're using the digital tool to activate engagement both online and offline. And so that's happening here, because a lot of those teams are built by people connecting with people in real time. And obviously the event is important. But in terms of, again, for folks who have done Giving Days for a number of years, you may be scratching your head and say, do we really want to do it again? It's feeling kind of old. But then you look at it and say, yeah, but it's really important for the community, so let's doing it. But this, I think, is an opportunity to keep Giving Day really fresh. And we actually looked at the data in terms of our Giving Day experience. And what we found out is, in just the straight traditional nonprofits turn out the votes, so to speak, get people giving. The success of Giving Day, there was a linear relationship, I mean a highly correlated relationship, between the number of nonprofits that participated and the amount of money that got raised. And every year we added more people, and almost in lockstep, that's the amount of money incrementally that came in. We were able to predict, based on nonprofit participation organizationally, how much money we would be able to increase incrementally. Now, what this, I think, offers, and what's really interesting and what's really cool, is it opens a new funding source for the Giving Day event. And that's the peer-to-peer side of it. And it's not only about individuals raising, this is just think about, I mean, and this really is the United Way model digitized, right? But in a narrower sense, a narrower number of days, and that you can command. You can get organizations competing, so to speak, and I'm careful about using the word competing, but teams within organizations, teams within corporations, it becomes an activity of a human resources department to engage millennials, that they're participating in having their organization that they can stand up and they can brand, that they feel good about, that that they are raising money, not for a specific nonprofit necessarily, but for the community. So a major corporation can say, we raise this much from our employees for during this event. Again, sounds like United Way, and it is what United Way does, but it's built into the Giving Day. So it opens up a huge new opportunity for how to make that Giving Day go from 1 million or 5 million or 10 million and double that. I think that's the potential here.
Yeah, this is Taylor. I'm glad that you mentioned that, Rob. I agree. I think that one other thing I'll add to that, the gamification and the competition between teams, and I've been digging into some data lately and looking at the differences in peer-to-peer fundraising between those who just sign up to raise money as an individual and those who sign up to raise money on a team. And teams raise pretty much across the board 2 times more than what individual fundraisers, people participating on a team, raise about 2 times more than people who are just participating individually. So I do agree that the combination of team fundraising like this with getting community corporate partners involved is really exciting to see how more organizations are starting to do this and to use the tools to kind of like up the ante and do more and expand it.
And actually, what I find particularly exciting is once we start engaging organizations, corporations, the people within organizations in the community in a fundraising mindset. I don't know if anybody, I'm going back 20 years now, but Robert Bella wrote a book called Habits of the Heart. I mean, we give, we volunteer, we do what we do. Because it's something we've learned to do, because we've done it. And this is a great way to teach people how to connect with their community. And those ways are getting harder and harder to find. We can create them. And this, I love it. I think this is marvelous.
All right. So let's switch gears a little bit, Lori, and talk a bit about emergency preparedness and how powerful the technology can be for that as well.
Yeah. So again, building on the whole community, like coming together, common purpose, one of the ways in which, and it's actually one of the first ways we worked with community foundations, we as in Kimbia, is that, having a tool like this and being able to respond within disasters. So with a disaster, core to our technology is the ability to syndicate the forms so that the forms can live on any website and securely process donations. So we have seen this, in larger scales like Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee when they had their flood relief efforts, which was a number of years ago now, smaller ones with fires, and in some communities activating disaster relief sites due to floods, hurricanes, et cetera. The ability to utilize one tool for that and be able to, again, provide that form out for emergencies, to collect donations to support the recovery of your community, provide that all. This is also an example where you could, not in an emergency, but leverage this supporting either celebrities or corporate partners. So we work with Community Foundation of Texas, and more they're working with with their corporate partners to do, and media partners to do campaigns outside of that. So the ability to have a form live on their partners' websites and collect donations that flow through to the Community Foundation in a very simple way is it's all possible, and it's happened. I mean, and it's happens more and more in terms of once you figured out how easy it is, you can use it for a lot of different campaigns.
And again, the backside of this is people do turn out for emergency situations. People do turn out for natural disasters. People who don't ordinarily give. I mean, we know there's a high fall off of the people who give and getting a second donation from those kind of folks. But our challenge then, if we have their names, if we have their information, if we have the ability not to speak about a specific emergency, but speak about the needs of the community in the context of what they're interested in, and we can learn that over time. I think it's, again, getting back to that database for good within a community, which United Ways and community foundations are kind of the unique repository, the unique hub for that. So huge opportunity here. For what it's worth, I think always thinking about that database for good is what's powerful in the digital age.
Great. And then again, another example and around this is in terms of flexibility to integrate. We integrate with a number of different CRM systems through Sync for Salesforce or for Razor's Edge and more. Community Foundation of Texas has been able to leverage our Kimbia forms through their Blackbaud CRM, and they've actually embedded our forms in, I believe it's Blackbaud Net Community, so that people could give via a form there. It really, because of the flexibility in reporting, they were able to, and the ability to have that there, they actually were able to reduce their, how much time it took, and this was specific to their giving day, how much time it took in terms of reconciling gifts, reporting, et cetera, by this says 3 months, Taylor, I'll trust that that's correct, but they significantly reduced the effort it took to be able to offer that as an option. Again, whether it be through a giving day or just during your everyday, the ability to have a form collect any and all information you want. We were able to set it up so it knew if the donor logged in that it was the donor who was logging in, and some protocols to fill in their information. The idea that you could do that and then leverage a form that they could either add to their funds or support organizations is really powerful.
You know, and the other thing we're using it for is, and I'm commenting from the FIM CRM Salesforce perspective as opposed to Blackbaud perspective, but the ability to use the Kimbia events capability, the fundraising capability, the forms capability, bring it into the CRM, and then creating campaigns in the Salesforce context, but then using that information to immediately inform us about how to update somebody's profile and how to communicate with them over time is proving to be a really interesting way for us to think about who the potential donors in the community are that were not on our radar.
Yeah, and another interesting thing to add into that, guys, that I thought of that's not reflected on here, but some organizations are starting to use for the community giving too, is something called Simple Pay, which I think, Lori, that's sort of what you're getting at with the recognizing with integrating into the CRM systems and that database of record, being able to recognize who they are and then give them actually what we do with a dynamic link. When they click on it, it recognizes who they are, pre-fills their information. It just makes it that much easier for them to give again through the online form.
The dynamic integration. I have not looked at that. That's very cool.
We'll have to talk more about it, Rob. We'll take this offline.
And then I think this is the last one, sort of end of year campaigning. So it is not too early to start thinking about end of year campaigns. So whether it be Giving Tuesday or other end of year campaigns, the example we're showing is actually from the Community Foundation of Richmond in Central Virginia, they work with the Richmond Times-Dispatch, so their local newspaper, and help support their end-of-year campaign. They call it the Christmas Mother Fund. It's actually, so they've got a page on their website where they collect money and then support local organizations through that. So this is, again, thinking about media partners, corporate partners, the ability to provide them with a service by giving them the opportunity to collect funds. All the funds go to the community foundation and then are dispersed throughout the year following. But it is an incredible way to campaign. Again, all of these different campaigns, one of the things I should say again is that the ability to have access to the data about people in your community who care about your community, regardless of what these are, there are some we have is pretty incredible, and it is a very unique opportunity. So I think maybe we'll have a little bit of a discussion about that, but basically the access to that information and then the ability to mine it for people who may be passionate about the Community Foundation or good fits for the Community Foundation, United Way, or other types of campaigns. It's something that the more you do the more campaigns you do, the more opportunity you have to test and see, what hits or what people are passionate about.
All right. Well, that is it for our examples. I want to open it up for some questions and final thoughts. And one question that I got here in the questions box for y'all is what thinking about the share of wallet. Like, how do I make sure that if I'm doing this stuff year round, and it's not just around the giving day, how do I make sure that the nonprofits in the community don't think that we're starting to try to compete with them? Do either of y'all have any, thoughts, feedback on that question?
Yeah, I certainly do. So, for anybody who's done a giving day, I think somebody's given us that pushback to start with, and I think it goes back to fundamentally what we've done in community foundations, what we've done in United Way, is help communities organize giving. I just see this as the latest incarnation of that, but that's not new for United Ways and community foundations. That is what we do, and the hope. I think there's a couple of hopes here. One is that it's not a zero-sum game, and that we're raising the level of philanthropy in a community, and at the same time, like on that Miami issue-oriented page, you can flow back and make this a place of learning about nonprofits. That's what we're doing. And so I think it can be a collaborative effort. And the other side of this is, it gets back to a point I made earlier. Whether it's donor advised funds going to Fidelities and the Vanguards and leaving our community, or whether it's going into our endowments, where at least some of the fees are going for nonprofit purposes, and that lots of money. Not that global causes aren't important and they're not good, but we do need our fair share in our communities because we do have issues and challenges and problems, and we just got to make sure that, like jobs leaving the United States, that all the philanthropy doesn't leave. And so, and building communities and using the digital tools to help do that, I think is a positive, not a competition. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Lori, what do you
think? I completely agree. So, I think that, like I sort of started with, is that a community-based organization, so one that's focused philanthropically in the community, it is your purpose, or it should be your purpose, to engage with the individuals who care about your community and provide multiple different opportunities. The way I look at it is that, again, one appeal may appeal to me, but won't appeal to, say, my husband. So it won't encourage him to give. So the opportunity to provide multiple different things, and really everybody is working towards putting more money into the community. So whether it be for an individual nonprofit or for a particular cause area, it's all good. And we all know that, donors, as I said, people who are philanthropic don't just give necessarily to one organization. They may support 10, 20, or more organizations in any year. So it shouldn't be seen as competition. This should be really seen as an opportunity to sort of raise the bar locally.
No, good. Yeah, I mean, I always tell people that you're competing with what people are eating for breakfast these days, in terms of, just social media and the noise and everything. But I agree. I think when it comes to giving and comes to finding that connection with the community, that some of the things that we are seeing people, some of the examples that we share that organizations are doing is driving that sense of community through things like the Nonprofit Central and Hub and peer-to-peer fundraising around the giving event. All right. Well, I do not see any other questions in the questions box. So I want to thank everyone for attending. Thank you so much, Rob and Lori, today for sharing your thoughts and ideas and these examples. If you do want to get in touch with us, here is all of our contact information. Please go check out imissioninstitute.org if you haven't seen it before. Rob and his team have an amazing repository of, fundraising focused training for nonprofits. And I think it's a great resource. And then there's Rob's email address there down below. If you don't have Lori's email address, you probably do. But if you don't, it's lori@cambia.com. And you can always also send questions to me at taylor@cambia.com. Another thing you might be interested in too is we released an ebook this year in January called Scene 2020. And actually, I wrote about all of the predictions in nonprofit technology and just the technology landscape in general and how it is changing the way that nonprofits need to be thinking about their fundraising. And so if you haven't read that yet, check it out, download it. There's actually an assessment at the end of the ebook so that you can do that with your team and kind of see where you stand right now with your technology adoption. So with
thank you.
Being said, yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks, Taylor, and thank you all. I just wanted to offer, we are here to help. So if you have questions or ideas, we're happy to chat through them. And you have our contact information, and Taylor will follow up with the presentation, so you'll have that. But thanks for your time, and thank you, Taylor, for organizing, and thanks, Rob, for joining in.
Yeah, thanks. Enjoyed it.
All right. Everyone have a good afternoon. And like Lori said, just expect an email in your inbox within the next 24 hours, and you'll get a copy of the slides and the recording. All right. Have a good one.
Thanks.